Alright, hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So, I have a video topic that I've been going back and forth with people on TikTok and it's Love Island related, but I feel like there's a bigger issue that I feel like needs to be addressed because the reality is sex is not always intimate and it's not always meaningful. And there's a portion of people who misconstrue sleeping with someone as meaning they like you. And I feel like people who think like this always end up in hurt positions. So I basically made multiple videos, but I'm gonna say I made a recent video talking about Nick and Sierra's relationship on Love Island because I feel like there's people who see it one way and there's people who see it this other way. So, and I feel like how you think about sex skews maybe how you think about the situation. But I also feel like there's a lot that can be said because I also feel like people don't want to acknowledge that people do try to use sex to coerce people into relationships or women. Okay, let's just get into it. So, there's this girl named Sierra who was a bombshell on season 7 Love Island. And she basically came in seemingly hyper focused on one contestant only and really wanted to be in a relationship with Nick. And so you can say editing whatever, they left things out, but it seems like she literally only really wanted to talk to Nick and no other people in the villa. And there's the thing, I feel like I understand things in a deeper perspective, not only because you have to recognize like sex means different things to different people, but men and women experience sex in different ways. Women always are more likely to attach emotional feelings and romantic feelings to having sex. Men don't necessarily need those things to get those things from having sex with women. And I feel like this is a psychological thing that you can study. There's tests about this. But it's more emotional for women than it is for men. And so knowing that, I feel like women who are sleeping with a lot of men typically have the same mindset as the men who sleep around, where they don't put an emotional connection on it. But if you're a woman who thinks sleeping with a man makes and that creates a physical or emotional connection to that person, I feel like you should not be participating in casual sex because you're just setting yourself up to be disappointed. So basically, this girl Sierra, and this is what I'm also saying, women control sex in relationships. That's just a fact. Like, men don't control sex in a relationship. Women control it. You know why? Because a woman has to make herself available to a man in that way before, and at least for it to be consensual, obviously. But it's like if a woman is not willing to have sex with a man, then that man's not having sex with her. If he's a man who is respecting the consent that a woman gives, right? So obviously in this show, like the men who I don't know. I feel like it's the obvious thing. I'm trying to break down something that should be just obvious. So anyways, knowing that it is a woman who sets the tone for when a man is able to have sex in a relationship tells me that for Sierra and Nick to have slept together so early, Sierra had to be the one who initiated that. And I say this because she had to make herself sexually available to that man for him to even be able to get that far with her, right? So I feel like in the case, people, this is why I view things differently than some of the people. So basically, there's people saying like Nick played Sierra because he slept with her and they were closed off, and then he moved on and he owes her something. And I'm watching the same show and I'm like, actually, this is not what's happening, and here's why. And explaining to people that just because you have sex with someone doesn't mean that that's a strong connection or a strong relationship, because the boundaries that you have sex in determine how strong that relationship actually is. And people conflate sex with intimacy. Like, you can have sex with someone and it's not intimate. Like, a one night stand is not an intimate experience. You literally know nothing about that person, and it's a purely physical sexual thing. There's no emotion tied to that, right? So it's just like, people, sex does not equal liking someone, or you have a in actually are intimacy, or is true intimacy. Which is why I feel like the parameters that you have sex in and the boundaries that you set for yourself before you're willing to sleep with a man matters, because it is up to the woman to decide what your boundaries are. What do you require of someone before you're willing to give someone access to your body? And if you don't have a lot of standards or boundaries, and you're just going off of, oh, I think they're really attractive, and oh, I really like this guy, so I'm gonna have sex with him, you're not establishing a real boundary. Like, you like that person, right? But what has that person actually done what standard has this person met of yours, other than you are attracted to them, that they have earned, or you want to share your body with them? And I also feel like this is just being 100% real. Having sex is not going to make a man like you. Sleeping with a man is not going to make him like you. It's not going to make him want you. It's not going to make him be with you. It might work temporarily. Like, and this is the thing, when you recognize how some men literally will sleep with a woman just because, like, men literally are not as emotional about sex. They're not emotional about sex unless it's with someone they actually like and respect. A man who is sleeping with a woman he doesn't respect is not going to feel any type of emotional connection to that person just because they slept with them. So anyways, keep this in mind, because the situation is basically, people think that Nick played Sierra because after she was removed from the show, he ended up finding a better connection with someone else in the villa. And they're like, oh, but they were sleeping together, XYZ. And this is why I say it's so important for you to have strong boundaries and standards for yourself, because the boundaries you set are what protects you from this type of situation. I have like a whole blurb I wrote, so let me read it actually, because I can't remember all of the things I wanted to say. So basically, this is the blurb I was writing. Sierra, in my opinion, she used sex to try to manipulate a relationship and connection with Nick, because after sleeping with him, she basically expected a relationship and loyalty from them, because that's what she wanted from him. However, Nick doesn't owe her those things simply because they slept together. Ciara chose to sleep with him without establishing any of those boundaries first, and then seemed to want to guilt him into being with her by telling him how much it meant to her and she doesn't want to be with anyone else, which in my opinion is manipulative. If you were willing to sleep with him without those things, you can't require them after the fact. I think it's wrong to say he owed her those things only because they slept together when he never told her before that he was only interested in her or that he wanted a relationship with her. Basically, I feel like there's certain types of women that basically try to use sex to get a man to like them. Basically, it's like, oh, it's like a competition, right? So that is what I personally saw happening. Nick was coupled up with this other girl at the time named Bella when Ciara came in as a bombshell, and what Ciara basically did was like got very physical with Nick very early on, like was making out with him in a photo booth and doing like very kind of like sensual sexual things with him in order to get him to choose her over Bella. So that's how she came in. She came in not, she led with sex. She led with sensuality. And it was in my opinion, it's a very like risky tactic to use, because at this point you're making yourself like, you're making the primary thing about you sexuality versus wanting someone to like you for your personality and other attributes. So she led with physicality, and then that worked. He ends up choosing Ciara over Bella when they recouple. But I also feel like it's important to note that the girl he was coupled up with, Bella, was not physical with him when they first connected. Like, she was one of the only contestants who was like, I'm not kissing people in that first challenge, which I've said this before. Love Island in and of itself is a overly sexualized show. Like, the things that they make a lot of the contestants do are very sexualized to begin with, which is why I made that video. It was like, this should be called Lust Island, not Love Island, because it's mostly just focused on sexual things. But anyways, that's another, I guess, topic. But anyways, Bella had a standard that she's not kissing people, which Nick respected, right? Because obviously, if she chose him to couple up with, she said, this is my standard, this is my boundary, and all he could do was respect the boundary that she had set in place. So Ciara comes in and is basically like, oh, I'm gonna make out, I'm gonna do all this stuff, be super touchy, whatever. And she can be like someone who's just very touchy feely, whatever. Like, her love language could be physical touch, right? Physical touch is not this love language. Physical touch love language is not necessarily sexual, though, which is, I want to make that clear because there's a distinction. Like, her love language could be physical touch, but that's not the same. That's not what I would have considered how she was moving. So anyways, after Nick recouples up with Ciara, Bella ends up going home, and then Ciara, I don't remember how quickly it was, but I just remember it was really quick. Like, most people are not like sleeping together within like 3 days, but basically they end up sleeping together, and it gets talked about, and you can see like the different reactions. I feel like Nick was kind of like taken aback. Like, you can tell like he wasn't necessarily expecting it, which is why, in my opinion, I know he did not initiate sexual things with Ciara. I feel like it had to be Ciara who was like initiating those things, or like I said, at the end of the day, she had to allow that to happen for it to have happened, because woman control when and if a man can sleep with them. So Sierra had to be open and willing for that to have happened. And that is something that made me realize, like, okay, why, like, you can like a man that much, but why would you want to sleep with a man so quickly? And I feel like this is where the term sex bombing comes in, because it's similar to love bombing, but obviously it's sexual in its nature, and I feel like basically Sierra, after sleeping with Nick, basically wanted to corner him into a relationship almost. Like, the premise of this show is you're supposed to find your best connection, right? Like, you're supposed to, you're coupled up with one person, and the person you're coupled up with is typically the person you're mainly focused on, but you're still, like, supposed to be, like, talking with other people, seeing if there's a better connection. And basically with Nick, he always had interest in Alandria, which is a whole nother story to get into. But basically, he had expressed interest in Alandria prior to Sierra coming in, but Alandria was coupled up with another islander, and basically Sierra kind of was blocking Nick and Alandria ever, like, exploring one another, which is, like, you can get, I think I get into that in another video. But anyways, Sierra was very quick to sleep with Nick, and I don't think it was just because, like, I think it's two things. I think it's like she really likes this person, right? But really liking someone is one thing, but I also feel like why being very quick to be physical with a guy, I feel like is not something most women would do unless they're, like, just a very sexual person in, like, everyday life. Which I feel like if that's the case, then I feel like there shouldn't be an emotional connection attached to you sleeping. Like, if you're just someone who's very sexual and you like sleeping with men a lot of the times, then I feel like you're typically also not an emotional, like, you should, like, I feel like that's typically the behavior of people, of more masculinized women, I would say, where they don't view sex as having to have any type of emotional connection. However, Sierra, in my opinion, was not sleeping with Nick solely because she's just a very sexual person. She immediately made it clear, like, oh, this means a lot to me, and I only want to be with you, and I really like you, XYZ. And I feel like she basically tried to use sex to, like, make him like her, or to, like, this is what I'm saying, it's like a way to, like, control or manipulate a relationship, because it's like, oh, well, you've had sex with me now, so you must be super interested in me, right? And so I feel like it also conflates emotions, right? Because you're going to think you like someone a lot more if you are sleeping with them versus if you're not sleeping with them. Like, I feel like sex does change things for in a relationship, but not necessarily for the better. It conflates emotions a lot of the times. And I also feel like it's sorry guys, I was looking this up. Anyways, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Basically, it's I feel like after that happened, it was almost like she tried to hold I feel like she tried to hold the fact that she had sex over him in a sense. Because this is what I also say. I also feel like I recognized it too as her trying to mark her territory. Like, you slept with him so quickly in the beginning because you understand that most women, if I know like this a girl that's my friend is sleeping with a guy, I'm not gonna go after that guy, right? And so I feel like this is why I feel like there was some manipulation and calculated things that Sierra did surrounding her relationship with Nick that made me not think like she was being very genuine, because it's like she only wanted Nick. She wasn't there for just her best connection. It's like you focused on one person the whole time. And then she also recognized that he had told her that she had said like on the show, I feel like I like him more than he likes me. So you recognize your feelings for him are stronger than his for you, yet you continued only focusing on him. You didn't think, well, if this guy's not as interested in me, maybe I should find someone who's interested in me. It's just like I don't know. I don't know if it's just like being male centered, or it's like she was so hyper focused on this one person, like she had on like these blinders. But I also feel like she led with sex, and I don't think that ever ends well, because again, you can sleep with a man, it's not going to make him stay with you. It doesn't mean he actually likes you, and it doesn't mean he wants you. Now, in this case, I'm not going to say that Nick never liked Sierra and only used her. I feel like he was confused by the fact. I feel like them sleeping together, I also feel like affected him negatively in a way, because I do think like I don't think he was necessarily prepared for that, and I also do feel like it made him feel obligated to stay with Sierra. I also feel like it discouraged other women from in the villa from talking to him or exploring him, which is why I said Sierra did this in a calculated manner, because she knows most women, a girl's girl, is not going to explore a man that is sleeping with one of their friends. And she knew it would make them look bad if they tried to explore with him, knowing she had slept with him. So this is why I'm saying she was calculated with how she did things. I don't think she was being is genuine with how she did things. I think that was the reason, like, Nick really didn't explore a lot of people. And even the bombshells that came in, it's just like, well, they're watching the show, they know that they had sex already. They're not gonna go for a man that they know is having sex with another girl in the villa. So I feel like it ruined him being able to. And yes, you can say like he's responsible for that too, right? Because but this is what I'm also saying, like in the heat of the moment, I don't think he was thinking about that. But I think Sierra was thinking about that. I don't think Nick thought like sleeping was thinking like, oh, if I sleep with her, other women in the villa might not want me, because men honestly don't think with this brain. So in a sense, I feel like he was probably just like, oh, this girl I'm attracted to and like at the moment, and wants to sleep with me, and was thinking that way. And then it was like after the fact, you can tell he was like slightly regretful, but also like wasn't sure how to move, because he still wanted to explore. Like, he never said he was locked in with Sierra prior to that happening. So it's almost like it was very rushed. Like, if you watch the show, them sleeping together was very rushed, and I feel like it was very rushed on Sierra's part, not Nick's. And I feel like Sierra rushed it because she was calculated and manipulative, knew it would, other women wouldn't, a lot of women wouldn't want to go after him in the villa, and that was right. Like, most of the bombshells that came in after that were not going for him. Like, prior to him sleeping with Sierra, Nick had a lot more women that were interested in him, but I feel like Sierra made sure to try to, like, befriend all the bombshells, and it's like she was playing a game of chess, in my opinion. She's like, if I'm best friends with this girl, they won't try to take my man, and if they know how much I like him and that we're sleeping together, and I'm telling them, she was basically making up things like Nick said to her too, and telling the girls Nick said things he actually didn't say. So she was, in my opinion, very manipulative and calculated. Like, she had this whole concept, like, she only wanted Nick, and she just was focused on that man and that man only. So this is why I said Sierra played herself. I think her being so focused on only Nick, her wanting this one man so bad that she threw herself at him, in a sense, and was super physical to try to create this connection and didn't want anyone else talking to him, and XYZ. I feel like it did end up backfiring on her. That, and the fact that she got removed from the show for her racist comments. So, at the end of the day, the experience that she had in the villa, I feel like, is a result of her own actions and choices that she made on the show. One, her choice to focus on one man and one man only. Two, her ignoring her intuition around when she felt like she liked him more than her, she still continued trying to get him to like her. And I'm just like, as a woman, if someone is not giving you the same energy you're giving to them, you don't continue throwing yourself at them. You reevaluate. Is this person actually the right person for me? If this person is not recognizing the person I am, like, you can't force someone to like you. At the end of the day, this is the problem. The problem is, if you really like someone, you can really like someone, but if they're not reciprocating back at the same level or pace you are, you can't force, nothing you do can force that person to be more interested in you. And I feel like you just, like, a connection that is meant to be, you don't have to force that person to like you. It's like, you being yourself should be enough. And I feel like Sierra ignored all of these signs, all of the intuition. Nick told her, like, you should keep exploring. Now, would a man who's really interested in you want you to keep exploring? I don't know. Like I'm saying, like, and he wasn't ready to be closed off with her. I also feel like people give Nick a hard time because he was still exploring after that. But I also think, again, like, if you're under the impression that because they had sex, Nick owed Sierra a relationship and loyalty off of that, I feel like you fall under the same mentality that sex bombing and using sex to manipulate a relationship is, because that's essentially what you're saying. Oh, now that I've had sex with you, that means you really like me and we're supposed to be in a relationship. And I feel like women get caught in situationships all the time, because they think a man sleeping with them means that man likes them and wants to be with them, when that's not what it means. It means he finds you attractive enough to sleep with you. If he actually wanted a relationship with you, though, he would be trying to ask you on dates. He would not be only sleeping with you and only pursuing you for sexual things. This is why I would say in this case too, it would be one thing if it seemed like Nick was like super hard going for Sierra to sleep with him, but that is not even what the show portrayed. The show never portrayed like that Nick was just like super attracted to Sierra and wanted to sleep with her so badly. So that's why I personally can't say that it was like all Nick just wanting to sleep with Sierra and Sierra got somehow Nick did something to her, because you can tell like she initiated a lot of the physicality between them in the very beginning. So I can't put blame on Nick for the physicality things, other than, you know, he wasn't thinking about the consequences that sleeping with Sierra were probably going to have on him in the future. And you can tell he recognized that. He was thinking about it after the fact. So, yeah. But anyways, really liking someone is hard. Like, and I've been through like my fair share of like liking someone who didn't like me back or didn't like me as much. And you know what? If I recognize someone is not invested in me at the same level, you know what I do? I move on. Like, I'm not going to keep focusing on someone who's not interested in me. Like, that's literally what I was just talking about yesterday. Like, if I know I'm like, I really like this person, but this person's not really showing me the same amount of interest, the same level of that. If I'm questioning whether or not someone likes me, to me, that means that they don't. And if someone doesn't like me, why am I gonna throw myself at them to make them like me? Like, I feel like that means you don't know your worth. You don't know that you don't need to, there's nothing you can do to make someone who doesn't like you as you are like you. If you have to change everything about yourself in order to get someone to like you, like there's too many women who fall under that trap and that belief that they can do something or change themselves to make a man like them. And this is what happens when you are male-centered and you want male's attention so bad, and your self-worth is built around a man liking you, because you should know, with or without that man, you deserve someone who likes you for you, appreciates you, and is going to show you that same level of interest. So this is why I say, personally, Sierra played herself. She willingly slept with a man who wasn't committed to her, wasn't closed off with her, wasn't actively pursuing her harsh in the villa, because she came in with this mentality that she was a bombshell and that she had to take someone's man. And I feel like that mentality is what led to her being so physical with Nick in the beginning, which led to her having developing strong feelings for him because she slept with him. And then those strong feelings weren't being reciprocated by Nick, because, like I said, men can sleep with a woman and it not be super emotional. So in my opinion, she slept with him, got super attached to him. He was just like, oh, well, you were willing to sleep with me. We weren't closed off. I told you I'm still exploring. Like, I still like you. I still respect you. But, you know, I'm still exploring other connections. Like, that's what we're supposed to do. She wanted him to be only all about her after that. And then, you know, all the other stuff happened on the show. But basically, it's just like, I would not recommend for any woman to throw themselves at a man to try to make them like them. I also wouldn't recommend sleeping with a man that is not committed to you. That also doesn't end well. All it's going to do is conflate your emotions and feelings about that person. You're going to develop strong feelings for them, and that man who told you from the beginning, like, I don't want a relationship. And this is why I'm saying, all the situationships people get themselves into typically involve a sleeping with a man that already told you he wasn't looking for a relationship, and then you slept with him, caught feelings, and now you want a relationship and they don't. And this is why the boundary you set for having sex with a man determines what you're going to get from that man. If that man told you he didn't want a relationship and you still slept with him and now you're expecting a relationship, why would you expect that just because you slept with him, it changed him not wanting a relationship? It doesn't. It doesn't change that. I feel like sex does not change someone's intentions with you. At the end of the day, if that man intended to have a relationship with you, he would be pursuing those things with you. You sleeping with him is not going to make him suddenly be like, I want a relationship with you. And I feel like this is why you have to have boundaries in place prior to sleeping with men. Not after. Prior. Because if you want a relationship with someone that doesn't want a relationship with you, sleeping with them is not going to change that. And that's a hard lesson a lot of women have had to learn, not just Sierra. People are acting like what she experienced in the villa is something new. What she experienced was a very physical connection with a man that she really liked. He was honest and communicated that he still wanted to explore. He wasn't ready to be closed off. She continued pressing him. She continued telling him, well, this is what I want. And she heard what she wanted to hear. When he communicated, he was still exploring. She didn't like hearing that, but she still was basically like fine with it. And even after Casa, when they were closed off, and Nick is mentioning to her, like, I don't think closed off applies to the outside the villa. Like, this is just inside. Because at that point, like I said, Sierra honestly kind of cursed. Sierra put a curse on Nick. Like, I don't know how else to explain it. But it was like, as soon as him and Sierra slept together, it was like he had no other options in the villa, and it's like he wanted to keep exploring and he couldn't. It was like he was locked down to her against his will almost. Like, I hate to say it like that, but but that's kind of how I see it. Like, he would try to talk to other bombshells, they would not give him the time of day. Like, I personally believe Sierra tried to put she really tried to put a spell on that man to get her to keep them. And when I tell you, I don't think it, like, people were saying that as a joke, but I don't think she was joking. Like, her friend made a joke about, oh, I hired an Etsy witch to put a spell on Nick. Like, that's the only thing that, like, adds up to it, because the way, like, he was, like, it took Sierra being removed for him to finally be able to, like, pursue another connection in the villa. Like, that's how serious it was. And Sierra getting removed was because of her racist comments that resurfaced from the past and all of these things. So, like, I honestly feel like Nick got trapped by Sierra sleeping with him. Like, that's how I view it, and I understand Nick is a grown man. He made the decision to sleep with her. I also feel like Sierra still tried to trap that man. Like, I don't know. That is Jezebel. A Jezebel spirit that does stuff like that. So anyways, that's my thoughts on it. If you agree, don't disagree, that's fine, whatever. If you watch the show, then, like I said, like, all of the other things that happen. But I feel like at the end of the day, what I think Sierra should learn from this is never try to force someone to be interested in you. You can't force a strong connection with someone. Like, literally, if you have to force someone to like you, that means they don't like you. if you have to change everything about yourself for someone to like you, that means they don't like you. Like, why are we doing this in 2025? Like, this is why I have so much more. I feel like Nick and Alandria's relationship is so much more genuine because you can tell Alandria did not have to push or force herself on Nick. She literally was in her femininity the entire time with Nick. She never, all she did was attract him. She didn't chase, she attracted. And I feel like when we talk about femininity and masculinity, femininity attracts, masculinity chases. Ciara was heavily in her masculine energy when she was chasing Nick, and I couldn't support the relationship for that reason, because why are you chasing a man? Like, let a man chase you and pursue you. The right man is going to chase you and pursue you. If you as a woman are chasing a man, that man is not the person for you, because as a woman, that man should be chasing you. That man should be pursuing you. As a woman, you are just supposed to attract them. And I feel like that is not what was being displayed and with Ciara and Nick's relationship. And so you could tell it was very one-sided and heavily Ciara's interest in him, versus with Alandria and Nick, it was like always Nick pursuing Alandria and Nick choosing Alandria. And it was just such a different dynamic that obviously when the man's more interested in the woman, those relationships work better. It's just the way the world works. Like, no relationship where the woman is heavily pursuing the man, like, most of the time, I feel like those relationships don't end well, because I mean, unless you're just with a very effeminate man who likes to be chased by women. But Nick, in the very beginning, said he likes chasing women, and Ciara did not allow that man to chase her. She was chasing him basically the whole time. So I feel like their relationship was doomed to fail from to begin with, if I'm being honest. And yeah, that's all I have to say about that.